I'll just start with the news with Chuba, and just want to say how excited we are to, finally, get commitment from both sides for the future. It's just he embodies a lot of what we want to do here culturally, and on an offensive side, obviously he's made huge plays for us this year and previous years. We're excited for that to continue for the years to come, and it comes on the eve of him having a game-winning touchdown. So I think it's a really cool week for him, and just want to congratulate him and us as well, because we're excited to get that done.
All right, thank you. And we will take questions now. We will start with David, followed by Joe.
Cool.
Yeah, Coach, back to Chuba, I agree. It's a good move. It's when you talk about using him now with Jonathan Brooks, how do you foresee that working now that it looks like Jonathan may be ready to go this week?
Yeah, I think we've dealt with this kind of the whole year with Chuba. Like he's gotten our lion's share so far, but the more extended drives we get to couple all of our guys in there, trying to find ways to get Miles the ball, trying to find ways to get Jonathan the ball as he gets more comfortable, with the speed of the game and just introducing him to the NFL world. Jonathan can do a little bit of everything, as really all three of those guys that I mentioned can. They've done a phenomenal job, so we don't see any drop off in like scheme and stuff that we're calling. We just see another good back that we can have into the fold, and Chuba's just doing a great job of leading the charge, showing how how to finish runs, how to Early in the year, he was really aggressive on his cuts, and you see him playing underneath himself a lot more with the zone running. It's fun to watch that progression too. So those guys, especially Jonathan being a rookie, being able to watch that, from the sideline, unfortunately, he's getting to see a progression of a guy who's, doing it week in and week out and continuing to take steps himself. So just excited for him to put that learning to the field.
Appreciate it. Safe travels.
Thank you.
Hey, Brad, good to see you.
Hey, Joe.
Just following up on Chuba, curious, guessing you didn't have much background with him before you got here. Any kind of cool stories for when you met him and first impressions?
Yeah, so actually, way back, it happens with a couple of these guys. When I was a GA at Stanford, I was 22 years old, first year of coaching, and part of my recruiting responsibility was to scour the internet with guys who had good grades, finding good tape. And there's this guy up in Canada playing on different surfaces, playing with a different level of talent, but he was just trucking guys and running around them. And I brought him to our staff, and I don't know what ever happened there. I think there was like a weird thing with admissions of like grade level being different, and it was hard to get the grade thing figured out for us. But I brought him to the staff as a guy who would look really good in Cardinal and white, and he ended up going to Oklahoma State. So he doesn't remember, but way back in the day on Twitter, I DM'd Chuba when I was 22, trying to get him to see if he would take an American standardized test to see if he'd want to be a part of our offense at Stanford. So I reminded him of that when I met him. That was in the spring, and then just when I did meet him in the spring, he was in here when we were in here, just after the season. We just got hired. It was like February, March, and he's in here hitting the sauna, hitting the cold tub, taking care of his body. All the preparation he does now during the season, he was already doing that stuff preseason, showing us, and none of it was fake, right? He was truly getting after it in the weight room, checking in, meeting the new coaches, trying to get ahead on scheme. He was in Bernie Parmalee, our running backs coach. He was in his ear from day one, trying to say, hey, what are we running? What are we going to get after? What are things called, so I can start studying? All the stuff that we want. Like I said, he's a big piece of our culture as far as approach and preparation. Like he was showing that from day one, starting in the spring. So it was really cool to see it all, come to fruition on the field, and then him get rewarded with this.
That's great. Great story. Did he ghost you with your DM?
No, it was a quick back and forth. But then when I brought him, I just remember bringing him to the staff and the recruiting office, and they're like, we don't really know what to do with these transcripts. So we had a long line of guys who wanted to play running back at Stanford, and I think he just got lost in the shuffle, and he made his hay at Oklahoma State.
Thank you.
Yep.
All right, we will go with Alex, followed by Jeff, and then Cassidy.
Sweet.
Yeah, Brad, wonderful story about Chuba just there. One thing that we keep hearing about Chuba specifically is that he is a leader in the locker room, that he's some guy that coaches can point to and say, this guy just embodies everything that we want our players to work toward and stuff like this. Are there any specific moments that stick out to you that really illustrate that leadership?
Chuba does a great job of putting action behind his words. I think he's had a number of them, finishing drives down on the goal line. There's really two examples of this week, right? You go down on the goal line, we run the same play twice. You'll see when he has a big run, he's looking at the sideline, not only sparking, his teammates and his players, but inspiring confidence in the coaches. Hey, call it again, give me the rock again. Let me finish these drives. Let me get this attitude going for our offense. So I can't. Other than like the last game, obviously running a game winner in, but then also that goal line touchdown, that he got earlier in the game, just calling the same play twice. Guys know what we're running, but Chuba finds a way to, find the crease and run behind his pads. Like those are the moments for us that back up, the speeches he might give or the words that he might have for guys. And it's always awesome to see a guy who's a natural vocal leader to have that substance of action behind his words and success coming behind those words, because it just puts all of those words to work for the guys, and it says, hey, he's not just putting words out there and not backing it up. Like the guy's doing it day in and day out. So it's always good when those two things are coupled together.
Absolutely. Thanks, man.
Thanks, Alex.
Hey, greetings, Coach. Have safe travels today overseas.
Thanks, Jeff.
Yep. With Hubbard extended and Brooks set to debut, where does Miles stand now? Is he still the third down back, or is he now considered the RB3?
No, I don't think we hard put names on. Obviously, Chuba's been taking a fair share of the carries, but we don't put hard numbers on guys. We just want to get a good chance for them to all, touch the ball. They all have their own, their talents, and Miles has done a great job in their first and second down running game as well. But we're just really excited for, all the route running that he's done. He's done a great job of getting open on the perimeter. So it's just an added piece that he has for us to continue to carve out niches for all of them. They all have value in our offense, and I just don't like to throw them into boxes of saying 1, 2, and 3. There's the elephant in the room being that Chuba's, kind of taking that workload. But with that, you need to spell him too. And we're blessed to have two other guys that are really good runners behind him. And then Raheem too, like he's a guy, early in camp who got plenty of carries there. Mike Boone, like guys that have all toted the rock. Even if we were to call any of them up active or find ways to get Raheem the ball too, they've all shown their ability to run it. It's just the name of the game when you're trying to get a certain guy a good amount of carries, and then you're trying to space out the rest of them between the others.
It has been a tough season and a half for Sanders since he arrived. How's his attitude been, and how's his professionalism, around the attitude or around the locker room?
Yeah, I gotta applaud Miles. I know he's used to being that workhorse, when he's coming from Philly. So I just applaud him in his effort every week, his approach. He's a true professional. He puts his arm around guys. You talk about a guy like Jonathan Brooks, getting ready to play. Like they're all communicating and being great teammates with each other. Blackshear, him, Boone, all those guys, Dylan Johnson, like they have a really tight-knit group, and the hats off goes to Bernie Parmalee, a guy our running backs coach, who's never had a bad day in his life. He keeps all those guys in sync. So whether you're, topping carries or, just trying to get on the active roster, they have a phenomenal room in there. And they've developed a lot of trust within, the coaching staff and the offense and the guys that are blocking for them, that we don't care who we turn around and give the ball to. We know that they're going to do something special with it. So Miles is a huge part of that, and just his approach. I know it's always tough when you're not getting quite as many carries as you're used to, but just hats off to him and his professionalism. But that goes for the whole room, really.
My turn?
Hey, Brad.
Morning, Cassidy.
Going back to the Stanford days, what was it that you saw in Chuba then that maybe he still does, and what is it that he has changed to kind of get better in this game?
You know, it's funny when I'm not going to knock high school Canadian football, but Chuba was on a different level than those guys he was playing against at his high school level. But he showed a combination of footwork, size, speed, and then finishing runs. Like we all know how he finishes his runs here, and he typically always falls forward. Well, he was rarely falling in high school. Not many guys could wrap their arms around him and bring him down. But the guy was physical, and that brand of football, it inspires the whole team, whether it's offense, defense, special teams. And that's where we're saying a big piece of culture, not only the intangible leadership, but the way and the style that he runs the ball. It galvanizes the team. So that's what we look for in all of our backs, really all of our skills when they're finishing. You watch JT Sanders finish with a couple plays downfield last year, locking the ball up and finishing through guys. All of our guys playing physical brand of football in the perimeter and the receiver room too. So Chuba's been a huge part of that, and he's been doing it since high school.
Cool. And then last thing for me, very important. What are your top 4 play movies?
Oh, you set me up on that one. Hopefully the inside of my eyelids, if I'm going to get back on track with the changing of time zones. Other than that, it's going to be probably a movie I've seen, so hopefully I could fall asleep. Like that's kind of my goal is, all right, let me put one on that I know really well and that I can kind of knock out to.
Good answer.
Anything else for Coach?
All good?
All good? All right, thank you so much for your time.
All right, see you guys.